Welcome back to the Daybreak Kitchen at the Blennerhassett Hotel. I am once again joined by Chef Dan. Chef Dan, thanks for having us back in your kitchen.
Emma, thanks for having me again. I'm excited to be doing this.
Yeah, so we are finally making those grits from our shrimp and grits a couple weeks ago. So can you talk us through this recipe?
So I start with a good stone ground grits. You can make them with instant grits. They just take a little bit less time to cook. But I like the stone ground for the little bit of a bite that it gives the grits. A little bit more of a gritty grit that way. They take about an hour to cook, but they reheat just fine, and you can make them and have them for a couple days.
Okay.
Back here, I've already started with about 8 cups of chicken stock.
Okay.
I went ahead and got that hot so we can get this cooking a little bit faster. Over here, I've got my 2 cups of stone ground grits, a little bit of butter. I'll put that right into the chicken stock. It's about 2 tablespoons.
Okay.
About 4 tablespoons of cream cheese, which will give it a nice little mouthfeel, a little cheesiness to it. And 2 cups of heavy cream. If you're conscious about it, you can use half and half. You can use 2%. Okay. Just go a little bit less on it because it's going to be a little bit more watery.
Okay, like any kind of store?
I'll add that right into the chicken stock, and I'll bring all of that right up to a really hard boil. You want to see those bubbles really coming out. Grits are kind of like popcorn. They hit that hot water and they expand almost instantly, and you want that reaction.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you cook them too slow, that's where you get that really grainy feel to your grits. And that's where I see a lot of people mess up making their grits, cooking them too low. So once this is up to a really hard boil, I'm going to add all of my grits right into that hot boiling liquid. And what you'll see when they thicken up is they will start to pop and start shooting up. You want to keep your arms, hand space out of the way and turn that heat down to just a really low simmer. Grits are strictly cornmeal, ground to a flour-like consistency. Very similar to polenta if you're from the north.
Okay.
So those grits are there boiling now. I'm going to let them cook for about 2 minutes on that high heat. And again, I'm just keeping a tall whisk or a tall spoon so I keep my hand out of the way. And once that's come down up to a hard boil again, we're going to shut it down to a real low heat. And I'm just going to let them cook there, stir them every 5 minutes for about an hour. They're going to get really, really thick. If they get too thick and they're not quite done, you can add a little bit more milk, a little bit more chicken stock, a little bit more water, whatever liquid you want to use. If you don't eat chicken, vegetable stock works just as well. Okay. You can skip the butter, use a little bit of veggie oil, and keep them completely vegetarian that way.
And so how many people would this kind of amount of grits serve?
This amount of grits is going to give you about 8 1-cup servings.
Okay.
Depending on how heavy of an eater you are, you can feed up about 8 people with it. And again, reheat them next day, have them for breakfast, have them for lunch. I like to finish mine with a little bit of smoked Gouda, cheddar cheese. You can add whatever flavor you want at the end. I've done them with beets and used fresh beets to give them the nice bright red color and more vegetable flavor. You add vegetables to it, but whatever flavor you want to add to your grits at that point, absolutely delicious.
Okay, well, while we let those cook, we are going to go to break, and when we come back, we're going to go ahead and plate and taste test. So we'll have more coming up right after the break. All right, so our grits have been cooking for about an hour, so it's time to take us to the next step.
So the next step, when they're done, is when I'm going to add my flavoring. I've got about a half a pound of smoked Gouda here. I'm going to add right into these grits. I'm just going to stir those up and let that get a quick melt. It takes seconds for the cheese to melt. You can use shredded. I use my chunked up Gouda from the restaurant here.
And you can use any cheese, other flavor you want.
Any cheese, any flavor. My parents use cheddar. They like cheddar in their grits.
Okay.
I've made them Parmesan cheese, so I'm going to bring these over here. And I've got a small plate right here for us to try them with.
Okay.
And you can see that consistency that I come up with is not quite loose, but they'll stand up almost like mashed potatoes when we're done here.
Okay. So what all can you top grits with? Obviously we did shrimp and grits, but I'm sure there are other things too.
I put sausage gravy on mine. I'll put shrimp and grits over it, eggs, vegetables. I mean, I use them like I use mashed potatoes.
Okay.
So it's just another starch option for a dinner choice. It goes great with fish, chicken, beef, really anything.
Okay, I'm ready for this taste test. So good. The Gouda is such a good touch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If you want to reheat these in the morning, a little bit of cream, a little bit of chicken stock, get it hot, add your cold grits to it, stir them right back up, and they'll come right back to life.
Yeah, and you could do it in a microwave, not cook them, but you could heat them up in a
I
microwave.
would never admit to microwaving my grits, but yes, it works
For
just,
some of us
just
who are
fine.
lazy, like me. Okay.
Oh, that's not lazy, that's quick.
Well, thank you so much, Chef Dan, for having us in and showing us your grits recipe.
Thanks, Emma. I look forward to doing it again next week.
Yes, and you can always find this recipe and all of our Daybreak Kitchen recipes on our website, but we will have more coming up on Daybreak right after the break.